Hello, everyone. I'm Johnny.
And I am Teresa, and today we have Mr. Isaiah Lewis with us. He is going to share his financial journey with you in hopes of helping you with yours. Isaiah, welcome to the show, and at this time, I would like for you to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I'm super grateful to be on here today. Huge opportunity to not only share my story, but also learn a little bit. So I'm Isaiah Lewis. I'm originally from Sacramento, California. There I've played sports my whole life, so I'm a big sports guy. I've got two younger brothers. We're all super heavy into sports. We love to compete. We love the environments of, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, we do it all. After that, I went to Granite Bay High School. There, I was able to receive a full ride scholarship to the University of Colorado Boulder. There, I did play football for 6 years roughly. That is a little bit longer, but with the whole COVID, the extra year with a red shirt, I did spend 6 years there. Had a super fun time, not only playing football, but building a community of friends, building my network is what I was always preached on, making sure you're taking names, taking numbers, building that network, because it's not, what you know, it's who you know. And so during that time, football aside, I was able to receive my master's degree in organizational leadership. I also received a bachelor's degree in communications and two minors, ethnic studies and education. So within those 6 years, I hope I was able to accomplish a good amount, and I did. And I'm super proud of that. First in the family to get a master's, graduate from a huge university, and then going back to football, I was, a pretty, I would say, exciting football player, to say the least. I really enjoy football. It's my passion. I was able to lead the season in tackles in 2021. I was never, coined a captain, but I always saw myself as a captain and led vocally, physically, by example. So after that, I'm now doing coaching at Sacramento State University, helping the safeties out there. Super excited to be back in the game after 2 years of the corporate life. So the corporate life was, something I challenged myself on. My family is into real estate, sales, construction. So staying busy was easy to me, but finding the true path that I wanted to be on is where I am now. And I'm super excited to be at this point.
Nice. So, on this show, we thank you for your introduction, first of all.
It was great.
Yes. But on this show, we talk money, right? That's what we like to talk about, money. And I know, reading some of your profile, I noticed that, you with money, you had a few challenges early on. So could we talk about that a little bit, about some of the challenges that you faced with money early on? Then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Coming into the podcast, there's a short story I wanted to tell. It was my first credit card purchase. That was not successful in the sense that I accidentally, got myself signed up for something I absolutely will not be able to afford. Shout out to the guy at Mattress firm for making me, making it sound like I could afford it. I ended up buying I ended up buying, I'll just say within the thousands, a mattress that reclines, illuminates, does the whole thing. And my mom, shortly after, not being able to afford that, was like, well, why? What are you thinking? And I was, coming from the standpoint of, well, I could afford these monthly payments with no understanding of, interest rates and how that can affect that whole deal. So money, I do wish I was able to educate myself or learn a little bit more about it in college, instead of having to kind of learn, once you're in real life. But nevertheless, I have been able to, with the help of my family and a lot of friends, kind of get that under control. So my expenditures, my savings, all of these little avenues where I'm able to, put away extra money for, say, sports, say, hobbies, whatever it may be. That's where I am now. But definitely money was something I had to learn how to manage, not understanding, interest rate, not understanding that you might have a good amount now. That doesn't mean you'll have a lot later. So I'm now at a point where I can understand the value in saving, the value in building my credit, and all those types of things.
Okay, and so I want to lean on you getting your first credit card because a lot of college students, they don't understand what they're getting themselves into when they actually take on a credit card. Can you give us a little background on maybe how did you even get access to this credit card?
Right. So my mom actually helped me sign up for a Southwest card. Being in Colorado, it doesn't hurt to have points to fly to and from California. So that was a huge thing for me was, use the credit card for gas and groceries, leave the rest alone so you can not only build points for the Southwest card, but also start building that credit. my mom has been a huge coach in understanding the value of credit. So she's the way I was actually able to access credit card, helped me kind of manage that. And now I have a very manageable situation for my credit card currently.
Well, that is good. So all these ones that are listening, be very careful with the credit card. And so when you bought this mattress, what made you think you needed a mattress that did all this electric stuff?
So quiet.
Yeah, I'm, I'm all about accountability. So I'm gonna blame the sales guy because he got me. I went in there for a very a couple $100 for a mattress, and he was like, "Well, look at this one," and I was like, "Well, this seems in my wheelhouse. Let's go ahead and go for it." Absolutely, was not. So,
Oh goodness.
yeah.
So when he talked you into that, well, convinced you to do it, what type of income did you have coming in at that time?
I would have been it would have been my sophomore year. So moving out of the dorms, as a scholarship player, you do receive a higher stipend or a higher kind of salary per month, I guess. So I had, I was able to afford, say, $75 a month to $100 a month on something like that. At least I thought I was. And then, slowly realizing like, that $75 is like $80 now. And then, so on and so forth. So it seemed very manageable until I found out the hard way about interest rates.
Okay, well, you got to tell us about this hard way.
Yeah,
Somebody else might need to know.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a matter of not having the means, or you're living a lifestyle that it seems kind of doable at the time being, but then a month later a lot of things can change. So not being prepared for what could change or knowing what might happen is kind of where I found myself.
So, and we all know because we know about doing the hard thing and going through this rocky roads of trying to figure it out. We experienced that in our early years too. So tell me, what changed your mind? At what point did your mind shift to say, hold up, I'm doing all this, I'm having all these challenges or these struggles. I don't want to do this anymore. I need to shift my mindset to do something different. What point was that?
So actually, I kind of missed a key point to this process. So
Okay.
the reason I actually bought the mattress knowing I was going to have like a couple $1,000 to pay off in the future was I was pretty dead set on going to the NFL and understanding that once you sign that signing bonus, that mattress would be no issue at all. And even though that might not have been for like a year or two later, I figured I could manage payments up until I hit that signing bonus. So a huge risk on myself, but that's the kind of person I am. When I do something, I want to put my full effort and attention into it. Very very goal oriented, so and results oriented. So that's kind of what stemmed from that. And then in terms of learning the hard way, just having you got to figure it out. Regardless of what it is, you're gonna have to figure it out. So that's kind of how I ended up.
So when you actually start figuring it out and say, oh, I need to change my mindset. What did you do? How did you change your mindset? I mean, what made you change your mindset?
Well, kind of, I didn't stop having dreams of playing in the NFL or kind of the motivation until I stopped playing football. So that wasn't a problem. More so, I kind of started taking up little avenues. So I'm like, okay, if I want to be able to afford this payment, I'm going to need something to take care of this payment and still have, my income. So I love sales. I really do. So I'm a 5-star rating on OfferUp. I would always buy and resell things. I enjoy human interaction. So getting to travel all over Colorado, meet people, sell things, is something that I definitely enjoyed. So that's kind of the avenue I took for like, okay, you're kind of running out of room to buy things you don't need. So let's figure something out. And it did end up being some way, shape, or form of sales.
Okay, so but our audience is mostly men, like 35 to 45. And I want you to touch just a little bit on why you didn't get to the NFL, number one, and then how important it is not to base your purchases off of money that you don't have yet.
Yeah, totally. So getting to the NFL is a crazy, crazy journey. I think the percentage is maybe 1% of players go. But coming off in 2020, coming off that season, I had some pretty good rankings or kind of, where I could end up in terms of the NFL. They had me as an undrafted free agent projection, and then going into the 2021 season, I might be able to work my way into lower level draft picks. So what happened was I ended up sustaining an injury in the last game versus Utah. So pretty solid season. Obviously could be better, could be worse, but ended up dislocating my shoulder and tearing my labrum pretty bad. At the University of Colorado Boulder, I received 12 anchors in my shoulder, which maybe or maybe not is still the record to this day. So my shoulder was, hanging on by a thread. Ended up getting it fixed. I got ready for the next season, maybe a little too fast. Did I, try to get ready for that first game? Regardless, I trusted myself. I was super, super hungry and wanted to get to that next level. So I pushed, got ready for that next season, and then ended up re-tearing my labrum in the third and a half game of the season. So that is a part of football. You can't let it affect you as much as possible. But after re-tearing my labrum, I had to get surgery right away so I could be available for my pro day because that was my senior season. And one thing I like to kind of just throw out there every now and then is I did have another year of eligibility to play college football, but the toll that the injury took on my mental side of things, just kind of that recovery process, missing out on the lifts and workouts, and kind of not being a part of the team stuff, it did affect me. So not knowing it until a couple years later, I kind of took a shot for the NFL. I went into my pro day just maybe 6-7 months out of surgery. So to say I didn't have full shoulder rotation is an understatement. I was I was out there, in front of dozens of scouts trying to put my best performance out there, my best display. My numbers weren't bad, but for my measurables, they did need to be higher. I ran a low 4.6 or 4.5, 4.6, and I jumped a 35-inch vertical. I ran a 4.01, 5.10, 5 shuttle, and then like a 10-foot broad jump. So for the circumstances, pretty solid numbers. However, the NFL isn't looking for pretty solid, they're looking for solid. So that's kind of how that shook out. I ended up playing in the USFL right out of college, and then didn't really have anything shaken too heavily after that. So I just, went ahead and started real life.
Well, I want to congratulate you and commend you on as far as you got, because a lot of guys, that's their dream. They don't even make it halfway to the point that you made it. So I would like to say congratulations to where you did make it. But he got to answer that other question.
Go ahead.
Now, you bought that mattress based on your bonus that wasn't in your bank.
Correct.
Let's talk about that. I want you to encourage others who might be thinking about making purchases on money that they don't have yet. And how did that affect you?
Yeah, I think it's a really good lesson to learn if you can, survive that lesson, I guess. It affected me in the sense that, I keep going back to this interest rate thing. That was the first eye-opening thing. I was like he told me it's going to be $75 for like a lot of years. It was not. So kind of just going back to teaching myself that lesson of don't spend it if you don't have it. Understanding the value in saving money, or at least spreading your money out and not putting it all into one avenue. Something that I value till this day. So I'm really big on only buying things that I need. I can safely say I have way too many clothes that I don't wear, but outside of that, I'm pretty diligent with the way that I go about using money.
That's good. And so you have a lot of education. You have a lot. So does having an education make you smart enough not to make bad money moves?
So growing up in school, I wasn't able to learn the traditional method. And as I transitioned out of high school into college, it got less traditional. So I was actually a lot more successful in college. So I always kind of fall back on the idea of learning in a way that will help you. As long as whatever you're learning is applicable, then I think you can succeed at it. So sometimes you do have to fail in order to learn and to grow. But I don't know that a college education would necessarily say this is what's right, this is what's wrong. I know what's right or what's wrong. But I do think putting yourself in situations kind of that's your specialty, and then every now and then stepping outside that boundary and go and learn new things and challenge yourself is definitely valuable.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
I want to know this question here. So we know you already kind of talked about your financial struggles, your challenges that you had, and then you talked about that mattress, which was, I still think that mattress pick up wings and fly away. I think you could fly on that mattress. But
I still have it, for the record.
That's
there
good.
you go. Okay. All right. So could you tell us, okay, from your struggles, now you're moving forward, you out of college, got your mattress still, right? You did all these steps that you went through. Now you got some you gained some financial wisdom. So could you talk about how you gain that financial wisdom and then what helped you to kind of start your process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my parents are very, very, money savvy. With my mom being in mortgages and my dad always preaching, don't spend it if you don't have it, as I mentioned before.
Mhm.
My ability to soak up that knowledge, and then my grandma, who's also, one of the top mortgage officers or loan officers in Northern California, or maybe the whole country, I don't know. The ability to learn and always be adding value to my financial education is something that's very, very important to me. I'm starting to look into buying houses or buy my own house so I can, start building equity and value elsewhere. Spreading out that money, like I said, is something that I definitely want to do outside of like stock markets and stuff like that. I'm not as versed in the, stock world that I wish I was. However, that is kind of a stepping stone. And then obviously, once you can buy that first property or something along those lines, that's how you start building that real value. So constantly educating myself, asking questions, trying to own my finances.
Okay, perfect. And so I don't want us to skip over this because in your bio, like when you moved from Huntington Beach to where you are now, correct? You had struggles with paying your rent, like basic expenses. How did you manage that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so being in those hardships, like I mentioned, it does make you find an avenue. It makes you, you're challenged. So you can either kind of give up or you can find a way. So through EarnIn specifically, I was able to get that last little chunk of money that I needed just for the week that was right. I didn't need it consistently. In fact, I didn't want to use it consistently because I'm not one to have to pay things if I don't have to. So only using that, the earn-in services when I needed was huge though, because it offered me say anywhere from up to $150 to maybe you only need $20. And then depending on, because I was doing sales, it was full commission. Depending on how that week went, or with a credit card payment due and then rent due maybe the same week, that would kind of alter how I might use earn-in.
Okay.
I want to kind of, could you explain what earning is? Because for people who don't know, because I think it's the first time we ever heard of it.
Never
Yeah.
heard of it.
Yeah, so could you explain what it is?
Yeah, totally. So, in the situations where I was needing money, didn't want to take out a huge loan because I wasn't looking to have to make payments on it, it's anything like that. So, you just type in, kind of money, borrowing, whatever it may be. So that's where EarnIn popped up. It was actually the first option when I typed in like need a loan on the App Store. And it was an ability to get like a cash advance without having to sign a contract or do anything like that. Once you can verify your income, then you can, you show that you have consistent paychecks coming in. EarnIn is perfect for getting that last little chunk of money, as I mentioned.
Okay, so how long have you been using it's EarnIn? EARIN, correct?
EarnIn. Yep.
Okay, so because people gonna probably want to know. So how long have you been using this system?
Yeah, I've been using it so I moved into LA in August. So August to about, I would use it every now and then. So I can confidently say I use it for maybe 6 months. Now I don't have to use it, as I mentioned. So I'm not going to use it if I don't have to. But whenever I do need just, a little bit of boost, a little support, EarnIn's always there for me.
Well, that's good. So when you went through your struggle, when you moved, you used earning to get like a cash advance on your paycheck, correct?
Yep, yep. And
And
then
that's
so,
how you were
yep.
able to cover your expenses.
Yep. And then once you verify your income and stuff like that and your paycheck, they can give you that your payroll or your pay like 2 days early. So it's pretty helpful. Like there's multiple different things you can do on there. Like money manager, credit builder, all types of things to help you be financially educated.
Okay.
Is it a cost to that particular app or a cost or a fee to use it?
No, no, completely free. You can like buy a super high, subscription to have like to the dot detail on where your spending is going and how you should do it otherwise. But there's a free service when you just need a little boost.
And so why don't you have to use it now?
Just growing my education, my savviness with the money. So I also currently do I help and support what's called ROI athletic training. So it's return on investment. It's kind of a side gig where I'm able to pour into more things athletic, but it does stand for return on investment. So it's actually a nonprofit organization who helps kids, primarily athletes, but doesn't have to be, who play sports. So furthering their education in sports, and then also furthering their education for life after sports. And mind you, these are from high school all the way down to, it could be a 10-year-old. Obviously, we're not, doing a full breakdown on how to save your money with a 10-year-old, but a lot of high schoolers are about to jump into that real world. So the ability to educate those guys, both on the field and off the field, is huge.
Okay, so if someone is listening to us now, tell us how would they know if they needed to check into this system called EarnIn?
Yeah, so whenever you need, I'm not sure what the, say, age restriction is or anything like that, but when you do need that boost, you can just go right on the App Store, type in EarnIn. It'll ask you some real basic questions. And then it'll kind of cater its services to what you need. So if you don't need a cash advance, you're looking more so for just like credit building. That's there. They have, it's there's a lot to check out, and it's super easy to use. So I encourage you to go and check it out, scroll around, and see if any of the services could help you or benefit you.
Okay, so I see. But okay, so the cash advance, basically they'll take it from your paycheck once you get your paycheck. Is that correct?
Yes. So say I like get a cash advance for today. So payments are generally due Fridays. If I got a cash advance because maybe my credit card payment was due Wednesday and I got a cash advance Tuesday, that payment would be due that Friday. But let's say I get an advance today. So Friday, the next advance would actually end up being, or the repay would be next Friday. So, you can take a lot, take a little, just do ensure you have the ability to pay it forward.
So what happens if you can't pay?
I've never been there.
Okay,
Okay,
so
that's
we better
good.
tell
That's
them.
good.
Okay, so before you sign up for it, make sure you got the money to pay. 'Cause if you
Absolutely.
we can't help you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
have no deal go happen.
We
Yeah.
don't have no idea.
Definitely borrow with the intention of giving it back. It's like credit cards, but that's a reason I like it more. It's instant, and you pay it back instant instead of something building over time and kind of forgetting about it. This is something on the forefront of your mind heading into the next work.
Yeah, and I guess it's good because maybe it'll keep you accountable to pay back versus you get a credit card, you let it sit on your credit card.
Yeah.
People will let it sit there
Forever. And I guess this would probably be better than getting one of those title loans or either going to one of those cash advance places where they charge you like 300%
300%
interest.
Interest, correct? Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Okay, so it's pretty obvious you don't like interest at all.
No.
Tell the listeners what your problem is with interest, because you definitely don't like it.
Just being deceived is the reason I don't like it. Not fully understanding what it is when I kind of got into a big purchase is the reason that I'm not a fan of it. And then always now if I'm looking for homes, cars, anything, the first thing that I'm looking at is the interest rate. How high is it? How low is it? If I'm taking out a credit card, what's the interest rate on that after 24 months? Stuff like that. Those are things that I really kind of hang my hat on in terms of being financially a little bit smarter. So just not falling for whatever is $200 a month for a brand new F-150. Well, it's got a 7% interest rate, and some crazy rising value. Or obviously it's not going to rise. The value won't rise over time. So just knowing all these little things is what I definitely pay attention to.
He said a huge word. You said interest is deceiving.
Yes.
And you know what? Out of all the podcasts we've done, no one has ever used that word to describe interest.
Yeah.
So if somebody listening, why do you look at interest as being deceiving?
It'll fool you. It's kind of like, there's a nice brand new this waiting for you. And then right below this there's a fine print that you didn't want to read. And now you are not able to afford what you thought you were. And that's kind of how I mean it's deceiving, in that if you don't understand or you're not thinking ahead or down the road how this could play out or what that amount might look like down the road, you're going to run into some huge problems. So
I'm going to have to use that one.
Yeah. I never heard that before. Interest is deceiving.
Yeah, you want to ask him some more stuff? We got to pluck his brain just a little bit more, because I'm like, you're young. Is it okay if I ask you how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 26 years old.
Yeah, so you're 26 years old, and people will respect what you say because of how young you are. Like, you've already been down this road.
Yeah.
You're trying to help others from going down the road.
Definitely.
So y'all listen in. His financial journey It wasn't easy, but now you're at a place now. You have a decent job. You're saving your money. And then how do you feel about budgeting now that you've had your eyes open?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing I am kind of challenging myself moving forward. I have, must do expenses, so gas, a little bit of utility bills, groceries, things that I have to do. And then I have kind of the don't have tos. So I do believe in kind of allowing yourself to breathe and kind of not necessarily make emotional purchases, but do things and buy things that make you feel good, make you feel better. So just kind of trying to tone those, not tone it down, but in a direction where I can afford to buy and do the things that I like to. So budgeting is something that I do want to kind of build more education on and the ability to do, but it's definitely very, very valuable.
That's good.
So one of the questions that I have is, before you discovered the earn-in technology that you was using, you have been using, were you like living paycheck to paycheck to try to meet your expenses? How did that work out for you?
Yeah, so kind of paycheck to paycheck. Before I kind of jumped into full-fledged sales down in LA, I was continuing to do athletic training as well as a lot of gig work. So as I mentioned, I have a lot of family in construction, always projects to help out on. There's always job sites to show up and work for a day and kind of earn it the manual labor way, which I love. It was kind of my way out because I was kind of fresh off football, so sitting at a desk or being stationary for a long period of time wasn't very appealing to me. So going out doing gig jobs, one example I have is doing a septic tank. Don't recommend that to anyone ever. Yeah,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, I was able to, accumulate a good amount of money to at least stay ahead of any finances that I had to take care of. And then saving is, put away as little amount or as much as I can while still, doing my daily.
Why did you leave your corporate job?
Um, why did I leave the corporate job? So at the back of my head, even though I had been out of football for 2 years, I wanted to, take a risk, go try something. I have, a family member who's very, very successful in sales, kind of wanting to test those waters. I know I'm very personable and I enjoy talking to people. So I figured, let's go do sales. Let's go talk to people and make something out of myself. I did. I was, of maybe I would say top three at least in my office in terms of sales. But at the back of my brain was this nagging desire to be back around the game of football. So my position coach, Nathan Kenyon, I grew up playing football for his 7-on-7 team, which is like a passing league in the Bay Area. His team name was Kenyon Training. He ended up getting a position coach at Sac State. And then I saw that post on Instagram. I immediately reached out, and then one thing led to another, and here I am. So, super, super thankful and so happy to be back in football because for those 2 years that I wasn't, it was always, itching me.
Okay, and so when you left your corporate job though to do something that you love, did you take a pay cut?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. In the game of football, there's many, many tiers and levels to being successful in the college football realm. So I wouldn't say maybe not absolutely I took a pay cut, but kind of starting at the bottom and now having to work my way up. That is how the football world goes.
Okay, and you will because you love it. And so
Yeah,
what my
absolutely.
husband has taught me, if you do what you love, the money will follow. So like most people nowadays, they are wanting to leave like the corporate world and really do something that they enjoy, but they can't do it because they need the money from that corporate job. So I just want to commend you on taking that leap of faith
Yeah.
to take a pay cut and not stay with the money, but just go after something that you enjoy.
Passion.
Yes, and Isaiah, the money will come. If you are as dedicated as we think you are, you're gonna rise really fast. I'm gonna see you on TV soon.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And our head coach Brennan Marion always says, work like you're where you want to be.
Yes.
Work
Yes.
where you want to be.
Yes.
So showing up every day, relentless mindset. Whatever my job is for the day, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do it well. Those are things that we're being taught, and I'm super, like I said, grateful to even be in that environment again.
Okay.
So you have no question before I ask this from right here?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So if now you're looking at yourself now, and if you would give advice to a younger you, right? What nuggets would you a couple of nuggets. What would you tell a younger you, or either anybody that will come up to you now and ask you for advice in reference to finances? What would you tell them?
Yeah. In terms of finances, it's always going to come back to that, not being sold on the big picture, looking at the fine print. It comes back to when you have a good amount of money, knowing what to do with it. Not being like, okay, I have a good amount of money, I'm just going to go blow a couple $100 on the weekend. That just doesn't make sense, and those are things that, maybe I did learn the hard way. However, slowly but surely, I was kind of realizing like money will run out. Money can run out. So understanding that, having the idea of maybe let's do a little bit of what we don't need to do, but then let's put our finances to the side for what's definitely going to happen. And then in return, we're more prepared for, anything that's unexpected, anything that maybe we did account for, but it's larger than we thought it was going to be. So kind of having that a little bit more patience. And honestly, I just want to use the word resilience. Like when things get tough, well, let's make sure we don't end up in this situation again. That's kind of where I pride myself and hang my hat on is learn, grow. Don't stop asking questions. Don't stop growing that network. Those are things I'd probably tell my younger self, at least in college for sure.
Oh, that is so
I like
powerful.
that.
And so now,
I like that.
Isaiah, because you've been through what you have been through, you have the potential to make multi-millions as a professional football coach. So now that you've learned all these lessons, just imagine, see yourself making millions as a professional football coach. Do you now understand what you need to do with your money?
Oh, absolutely. And one thing my grandma and even my dad always said was first thing you do when you sign that check is we're getting you a financial manager, a financial accountant, something. So, I mean, even if I wasn't to do that, definitely have a way deeper understanding of how important it is to put money not only in different avenues, but don't go haywire because you got a nice little check. Prepare for the future, prepare for anything unexpected. There's huge value in that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then one thing that I do want to say to him, so like when you do start making your multi-millions, I know you know it, but as an older person, I'm going to tell you, don't just sign your money over to them to watch it for you. You got to keep your eye on them because I know you've seen these stories where these stars, these famous people, they get robbed because they trust their accountant. So I don't care how much money you make. Do not turn your money over and you're not watching it, or if you don't have your mom or somebody that you trust watching it, because people get so tempted by a lot of money and you end up on your mom's sofa. So don't ever give anyone complete trust over your finances, ever.
Absolutely. I'll keep that in mind. Those are the worst stories ever when, some guy doesn't have access to all the money he made because he signed the line and something went wrong. And absolutely.
So don't you do that. So just also to be encouraged and know that you went through this season for a reason. And when you get to where you're supposed to be, you're going to have to send us your autograph, okay?
Absolutely. Likewise. I'm going to need one too. I'm going to need it. I'm going to need one right back.
Okay. All right. Well, we need to let him go so he can go do his next thing.
Yes. Well, Isaiah, thank you for your time that you spent with us on Bartelle's Money Talk. We really appreciate the conversation and the wisdom that you have provided to our audience. So really appreciate it.
Yeah, really, really thankful for you guys as well.
You are very welcome. And thank you so much for being transparent and not being embarrassed and sharing your story, because a lot of young men need to hear this story. You said a big word, resilience. So regardless of where you may be now when you're listening to this podcast, you can do it. He said the word, be resilient. So Isaiah, thank you again, and we wish you the best of luck.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.